the show. Wait, Leslie Rob said what? What? Leslie Rob said what? What she said? What? Leslie Rob said what?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Leslie Said What. Guys, tonight's topic will not disappoint. We have Mr. Chad Forkner coming to talk to us about having ADHD as a teacher. You know, it's so crazy, like, that we all just tend to forget about those things, that's even a thing. You know what I mean? And so I am just so excited that Chad has taken it upon himself to come and talk about this topic of being a teacher and having ADHD. Okay, so as per usual, guys, feel free to drop in your questions and your comments in the comment section. We're going to be talking about a myriad of things. So we want you guys to feel free to chime in with your comments, chime in with your questions, but even more importantly, we want you guys to have a great time. So those of you who are listening via podcast or those of you who are watching, either way, we hope you enjoy. All right, without further ado, let's bring him on, Mr. Chad Forkner.
Hey guys.
Chad.
Hey Leslie, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Awesome. I had a day at school, but other than I'm doing good.
Yes, was it one of those days, Chad?
It was one of those days.
Oh my gosh. Have you guys gotten any snow? Because we've all been having snow days lately.
We were off for Martin Luther King Jr. on Monday. And we had a big snow, cold snap, of course, like everyone else did.
Yeah.
And on Tuesday, there wasn't anything on the roads, but schools still closed because down here in Texas, it was so cold. They didn't want the kids to be out on the, the bus stops and standing outside in front of the schools. And our energy company in Texas had to do like rolling blackouts. So we had to also be closed so we're not using up too much energy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It cracks me up, like not in a funny way, but like it just always amazes me how cold it can get in Texas. Like
very cold.
I remember a few years ago, it was crazy, right?
It was, yeah. It was Snowmageddon, and we were it was a week long, near 0 degrees, and it was crazy.
Oh, I bet. Well, we have Richard in the comments saying, hey there, Richard. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Chad. So, all right, let's just jump right in. Okay.
All right.
So why don't you tell us who is Mr. Forkner?
All right. Well, I am Mr. Forkner. Right now I'm a second grade teacher in Red Oak, Texas, which is not too far south of Dallas.
Okay.
Maybe 30 minutes south of there. We're kind of a smaller district, but this is my 21st year as a teacher. I started teaching right out of college, back in 2002, and was a kindergarten teacher for about 10 years. I was one of the few male kindergarten teachers. Taught first grade for a little bit, second grade, fourth grade for a little bit. Went into SPED. I did resource inclusion support. Got a position doing inclusion, and then got pulled into a behavior unit, which was an interesting experience.
Oh, I'm sure.
Very stressful.
Oh, I'm sure.
And then I actually took a little respite from teaching.
Okay.
Took a year, went to work for CPS and was a caseworker for a year. Decided to come back to teaching, and here I am in second grade. So that's kind of been my journey. Over that time, I went in 2007, got a master's degree in administration, didn't do anything with it. Went back in 2015, got another master's degree in curriculum and instruction, which has helped.
Like mixing it up a little.
Yeah. So, I'm still in the classroom. Some days are easier than others, but
what cracked me up is off air. You said today was one of those days where it made you question everything.
Yeah.
Don't we all have those days?
Challenging day, but I love my kids, my students, and
the
relationships are what bring me back to school each day. So.
Oh, I hear you. It's literally, if we don't have a rapport and a relationship with our students, we'll never make it as teachers.
That's right.
It doesn't work that way. Now, tell me, Chad, you were telling me off air about your unique family. So could you share?
Yeah. So during all this time of teaching, my wife and I were foster parents for about 20 years. We had about 40 plus kids come and be a part of our family and stay in our home for
Oh,
various
wow.
amounts of time. Shortly after we were married, my wife's name is Shannon. After we were married, we had a lot of fertility issues, ended up adopting. We adopted 5 kids. Our oldest is 19 and he's in a diesel tech school. We have a high school son who plays football. We have a 6th grade daughter, a 4th grade daughter, and then one in kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
And we're a multiracial family, and that's added a lot of unique perspectives about things,
That's
professionally and
awesome.
all that. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Having a multiracial family and like the foster care and the adoption, the process is always so because my husband and I found out a month after we got married that we couldn't have children. And after finding that out, we had inquired about foster care, but I don't think like my heart just could not do it. Like I would be so attached. So I ended up just basically as a teacher, making my students my kids. So it's
mhm.
so cool that you were able to do that. That's amazing. I applaud you guys for sure.
Yeah, and it added a lot of experience just dealing with kids that have difficult behaviors that come from hard places,
Mhm.
dealing with trauma, which now
Oh
we deal
yeah.
with all the time in the classroom.
Mhm.
So a lot of the trainings that I took for foster care have really come into play in the classroom as well.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the thing is a lot of times when it comes to foster care and different things like that, and even with our students in general, like who may not be in foster care, who may not have gone through adoption, the trauma counseling and learning how to teach students with trauma is
Mhm.
essential nowadays. Trauma training has become now across the board a requirement in most districts.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's essential. So how's teaching going this year?
This year's been going well overall. I really enjoy my campus. I have good administrative support, awesome coworkers. I really enjoy my team that I'm on. We work really well together. I have a great class. We have our days, we have our challenges.
Oh yeah,
But,
we all do.
you know, some of my lessons may not be that great, but I try to focus on just connecting with the kids, building relationships. Um, getting this will be talked more about when the ADHD part that we talk about. But my routines and procedures may not be the best, but they're ongoing and something I've always dealt with as a teacher. With having focus issues and
Yeah.
ADD and all that. So, but I just try to focus on connecting and building relationships.
And
So.
that's so essential. Building like we said earlier, like building a rapport and building relationships with students, it's what's going to keep us teaching. Like it makes all the difference. If we cannot break that break our ways into that bonding moment, it just yeah, you've lost them before you even got them.
Exactly.
And you said you teach second grade,
This
correct?
is second grade. Second grade. It's a good grade. We're still working on how to read and learning from our reading comprehension, um, adding, subtracting, bigger numbers. So we're kind of getting into third grade, which they have state testing in third grade here in Texas. So
Oh wow.
that's their first year to be
Standardized testing?
yeah, we have
Oh
the STAR
wow.
test here in Texas.
My. Oh my goodness, that's interesting. I'm sure that's a challenge.
It is, yeah. So let's get them ready for that.
Yeah. Oh man, getting ready for state testing, I think across the board for all of us is it's about that time.
Yes.
Yes, because I know like my students, like we are preparing for state testing, I think beginning in March, April. So I today their work shifted from like a lot of practical application projects to a lot of okay, I need you to pay attention.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So we can get this, get them ready for testing. Okay, so let's talk about the topic, being a teacher who has ADHD. So, like, could you tell us, like, basically what that's like for you? Like, what are some of the challenges you face, your day to day? What's it like being a teacher who has ADHD?
Yeah, so I mean, it's gotten better with age. I'm 46 now, so I think just being a little older, wiser, having coping mechanisms, strategies to kind of overcome that in teaching. And even in my personal life here at home, just being able to get things done. But, I can remember just the feeling that my head was swirling in the classroom because there's so much, at one time coming at me and all of us as teachers. It was very overwhelming. It was hard for me to, I struggled to establish routines and procedures at the beginning of the school year just because, that's a lot of steps. And so if you're struggling with focus and just being able to stay with that, run, through the course of establishing all that was a challenge. Managing time was a hard thing. Managing paperwork, and having different piles throughout your classroom.
Oh yeah.
Of things, I know where stuff was, but there was a much better way of course of handling paperwork and getting paperwork done. So all those things were a challenge. But now medication has helped for sure.
Yeah.
Just being willing to go to your doctor and talking to your doctor and say, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. And it's affecting my work. So getting on some good medication. Some other things that have helped is I really try to limit the paperwork I accept. So
nice. Knowing your boundaries, knowing your limits.
I'm trying to limit the paperwork that's entering my classroom. I try to have the kids do a lot of assignments, maybe like on Seesaw or some other online platform.
Mm-hmm.
Be really choosy about the papers that I grade. What's practice, what can they just go ahead and take home in their take-home folders versus what am I keeping? What am I going to end up taking home and grading? So I'm not getting overwhelmed and, having a long turnaround time to get those papers back to them. Making sure my desk is cleared off at the end of the day.
Oh, wow. Yep. So organization.
Yeah. So when I come back the next morning, it's not, a bunch of stuff that's still there from the day before.
Right.
I have gotten better at where I just think 2 steps ahead, so if I get into a moment where, I'm getting distracted or, I get off task or, I have too many, I start a task and then move on to something else before I finish.
Mm-hmm.
I try to think, hey, what are the next 2 things I need to do right now? Not
getting ahead of it.
Yeah. Not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but okay, I need to, complete this form or, do this task. And then, okay, what are the next 2 things? So that's been something that has helped. And then, I had mentioned before, my administrative team has been really supportive. In our district, we have a lot of instructional coaches.
Oh, awesome.
That I'm working with now that come in and kind of look around your room and say, hey, you might try this, and help you set up systems in your classroom. I've been teaching 21 years and I'm still, there's times I need help with that, setting things up because I forgot something that works that I did before.
Yeah.
Or, so those are some things that I'm doing.
Well, and I know that like my friend, she also has ADHD and she's a teacher. She teaches middle school. And she had mentioned that like she does pretty well with if she takes her medication at like during like first period, she'll take her medicine and then but by the end of like 6th, 7th period, it's worn off. And she says that's when she's like, I can't keep up. Do you find that happens too when your medicine wears off?
Yeah, mine usually gets me through the day, it kind of wears off sometime in the evening time. But I just thought, it's the challenges. I'm having to keep these 20 kids focused when I'm, struggling to keep myself focused.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah. And like I said, I've managed to create some things for myself and taking my medication that has helped a lot. So I'm having a much easier time, as a teacher, dealing with attention issues than I used to. So
now, is that something that you share with your students about you having ADHD?
I do. And there's times where's my stapler? Where did I put this paper? And they know. They tell, oh, you put it right over there.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had a pen in my ear today. I said, has anyone seen my red pen? It was in my ear.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. But I bet, you having ADHD and then sharing that with your students, those who have ADHD almost feel kind of seen and feel like, that, hey, I'm just as normal as anybody else, that it's not so foreign,
Right. And it helps me to have more grace, for kids that struggle with that. As teachers, we can get frustrated with kids that are, messy,
Yeah.
having trash and papers and stuff everywhere, have trouble getting their work turned in on time, or out of their seats a lot. So it's helped me, to be able to be more patient, to extend more grace to my students that struggle with that also.
See, and that's just awesome right there. Just knowing that within yourself. And the thing is my friend was trying to describe to me what it's like if for some reason she forgets her medicine or she doesn't take her medicine. What is a day like that for you as a teacher when you
Yeah, I mean,
don't have access to your medicine for that day?
well, so yeah, I take my medicine in the morning, and there's been
Mhm.
times I've been so distracted that I forgot to take my ADD medicine, which is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
So I had I had a little baggie. I put, an extra set of medicine in that baggie in my school bag. That was my emergency backup medicine
Oh,
in case I
wow.
forgot to do it at home.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yes,
So
it's
yeah,
awesome to have backup. I mean, I remember she said that they were out of the brand or whatever that they prescribed to her, and so she ended up having to go to school one day without her medicine, and she said it was a mess.
yeah.
So, like,
You know,
what describe that type of day for me? Like, if you just don't have access to your medicine that day, what does
you
that
just
look
feel
like?
out of sorts. You know the feeling that you have if you like forget your phone at home and you go all day without your
Ah,
phone. It's just that you get that feeling that you're going all day having forgotten something really important.
oh,
That's
gotcha.
that you're kind of out of sorts all day long, and it doesn't set a good tone for the rest of your day. So,
Yeah, I'm sure that really throws you off.
it
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, how do you find or what do you see as far as challenges when it comes to like you were saying with papers? And so is the challenge in the papers in of itself that like piling up, or is it just trying to get them all done, or what is it that you find a challenge in the paper is
In the
tangible
past,
or stuff?
yeah, it's just like been like with grading papers, procrastinating, it getting kind
Mm,
of overwhelming. So I've been better about, looking in my turn in basket, what papers are in there from the day, taking them home, try to get them done that night and get them back as soon as I can because I don't want papers stacking up too much for me to grade, you know,
mm.
uh, forms I need to fill out for the students and things like that. So I've just been trying to be better about getting whatever task needs to be done with those papers and getting them out of my possession and back to who they belong to.
No, that makes complete sense. We have a question from Nessia. She says, "Does having ADHD help you deal with students who have ADHD as well better, or does it become overwhelming at times?"
Well, I think it helps me be more patient overall. I have I can relate to what they're experiencing. So for sure, it helps me to go into a more coaching role, I guess, with them, and students that have a hard time managing their own papers or they have papers sticking out of their desk or you know accumulated a little trash throughout the day. I have a little waste basket right next to their desk. That's their own personal trash can, so they're not having to get up and throw papers away. They have a
Nice.
way to get rid of their papers they don't need anymore. Right there without having to get up. So that's just one little thing I've done to help students that struggle with that as well.
Oh wow, that makes complete sense. And the thing is like knowing to do those small things that make such a large difference for those students with ADHD, and you knowing and having that knowledge, I'm sure they're just grateful. I'm sure their parents are as well.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah. Okay, well, so tell us, now you were saying that with your foster student children and your children that you've adopted, having a multiracial family. Now what are some of the challenges that you guys faced in that? Because I know that you had, and guys, by the way, Chad says that if you have any questions about foster care or adopting, we're going to put his email at the end so that you can contact him in regards to that as well.
I think it's just made me more racially aware, I guess. If that's
Okay.
the right way to phrase it, just to being more sensitive to racial issues that are going on. Because, all of my kids are biracial and African American. And so, you wouldn't think, that I would, just being a Caucasian male, have a lot of knowledge or being able to relate in that area. But because of my family, how my family is, the experiences that my own kids will or have experienced, makes me more sensitive to that. And
that's awesome.
I think it helps me in the classroom too.
And so guys, when sometimes foster care can seem a bit scary for some people. Some people just don't have the education about it. Same with adoption. And so Chad said to feel free to reach out to him. His Facebook is Chad Forkner. For those of you who are listening via podcast and cannot see the screen. So it's Chad Forkner. And his email is chadeforkner@gmail.com. So feel free to reach out to him in regards to questions that you might have in regards to adoption or foster care. So Chad, before I let you go, I got 2 questions left for you.
All right.
This is a question I ask all teachers who come on. Teaching is a mission field. We have to be the hands and feet of Jesus. How do you see yourself doing that each day?
When I was younger, I really felt a pull into ministry, and I felt like I had to work for a church, or I had to be a missionary and go to a foreign country to really make a difference. And it really didn't hit me until just a couple of years ago that I was already doing that in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, our classrooms, are like a melting pot of all the issues and struggles going on in the world in our little classrooms. And so the kids, we don't know what their experiences are, what they're bringing each day when they come into the room. And a Christian teacher might be the only Christian that they have interactions with.
True.
Each day.
Very true.
So, we can't, preach the gospel in our classroom, but we can be an example. We can sow seeds. Jesus said to be the light of the world. We can be a light in our classroom. Mm-hmm. Talk about our own experiences. If the kids ask, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I went to church and I did this with my church.
Yeah.
Things like that. So, I think just going back into building relationships and rapport with your students, being open, telling them about what you're interested in, what you do with your own life, opens those doors.
Yeah, for sure.
And to their parents as well. This year, I've built really good relationships with the parents of my kids, and and I'm open with them as well. So I think it's just being a light, to those,
especially in this dark world.
Yeah. Being someone that's positive in their lives.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the thing is like you were saying, how, we need to be a light, and then also just showing them love. A lot of times we don't know where our kids, their backgrounds are from or what they go home to each day, but just showing them love. And like you said, being the light and the only Christian they may ever see. And like a lot of people say, we as Christians may be the only Bible they ever read. So we need to show them, the love of Jesus. So I couldn't agree with you more. Now, one last question. Any encouragement for fellow teachers who just want to give up? They're just over it. What encouragement do you have?
I mean, I've been there. I left teaching and I went to do a different job for a year, and I came back. I would say just hang in there. If your school's not working out for you, if your district's not working out for you, there's lots of schools and lots of districts. Lots of grade levels. Try something new. Make a change for yourself. And once you get into that classroom, focus on building relationships and getting to know your kids. On Fridays, I try to do have lunch with some of my students. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, our kids are at different tables, and so this week it's this table's turn to have lunch with Mr. Forkner. And some of my kids are struggling. I try to set aside a couple of Wednesdays out of the month where I eat lunch individually with those students. So, I mean, it might be giving up a little bit of time, but just focus on building relationships. I think it'll make a difference. If nothing else, whether it improves behavior or not, I think it makes your job satisfaction going up, just having built relationships.
Absolutely. And that's amazing. I love the idea of going to lunch and eat, and the kids get so excited. Like something so simple as you sitting down next to them at lunch and they're like, oh, Mr. Forkner's eating lunch with us, So yes, that does enhance your day-to-day for sure. And I loved what you said about, like, sometimes, guys, it's not the job of teaching that's the issue. It may be your district or your school. And
Yeah.
it's just not a good fit. It may not be that your school or your district is a bad thing. It just maybe it's just not a good fit for you. And that's exactly what happened to me. I was at a school that was just not for me. And then I moved to my school where I am now, and I love my admin, I love my job. You know, teaching it's going to be challenging no matter where you work, but at the same time, if you could build a rapport not only with the students but also with your fellow teachers and with your admin, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, so definitely if you're having a hard time at your school or your your district in general, like Chad said, it makes that's a great point. Like, find your best fit, find a better fit,
Absolutely.
So it's great. Well, Chad, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to share, oh my gosh, about having ADHD and being a teacher, because a lot of people just, we don't think about it. Like, when you reached out, I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then the amount of teachers who were like, yes, because nobody talks about it. So
yeah,
I'm so glad. Yes. Do you have any closing remarks before we go?
This was a great way to close my day. I had a lot of fun. It was a blessing to be able to talk to you tonight.
Well, I'm just so glad that you were able to be here. Guys, if you know a teacher friend who would be blessed by hearing this or would be beneficial, definitely tell them they can rewatch the episode on www.lesliesaidwhat.com, or it'll be available on all podcast channels as of tomorrow morning at the Leslie Said What podcast. Thank you, Chad, for being here.
Thank you, Leslie.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode just as much as I did. How amazing was it that Chad came and shared what it was like from the other side, being a teacher who has ADHD. A lot of times we tend to forget about those things, but it's essential that we all be informed. So it was just so good to hear his side and the challenges that he faces, and just the fact that he can have that better rapport with his students who also struggle with ADHD. So it was just a great episode. Well, guys, all right, Leslie Said What, season 4, episode 10 is out.
Leslie Rob Comedy.